It is Wednesday, the 12th of February 2025, and the European market is just about to open. I left the trade open last night before finishing my session, and we just hit TP before the move lost steam again. So we were a bit lucky here. I just missed getting stopped out when price returned to this level. That was just because of my cushion of this bar here. But yeah, I let the trade run and we hit TP. So another example of not doing anything, just letting things play out, working in our favor. Obviously, yesterday was a bit of a losing day, like minus 70 on the account overall, which is completely fine, obviously. I do have a trade open here. The reason why I went long in gold was because I was looking at this bar right here. I track this bar as well. The 8:30 GMT plus 2 bar, 15-minute bar in gold, and it broke to the upside with a stop here. I'll let it play out. However, I do put a bit more weight on the completion of the first 15-minute bar in gold in the London session, so the 8 a.m. London session 15-minute bar. If, say, this triggers to the short side, I might close this early. And if it triggers to the long side, I might just add to the position. So we'll see what happens. I have several entries planned for today. First one will be the first 5-minute bar completion in the UK 100. We will be taking a long position. If the bar is negative, we'll be taking a long position when price goes below it, and a short position when price goes below it if it's a positive bar. This is a strategy made popular by a well-known trader named Tom Hugart. This is a very well-researched setup that has been working okay lately, so I am taking it every day currently. It worked yesterday as well on the short side. So if you're just watching for the first time, I use mechanical entries most of the time. So like 90% of my trades are fully mechanical entries, researched entries that I plan out before the session even starts. I track times and candles where price starts moving directionally, and I identify those patterns. I identify if certain candles work better than others, and the ones that work well, I place a buy order above it when it completes and a sell order below, and whichever fills first, I just follow price in that direction. So I don't really decide or try to anticipate where price is going to go. I just let the market decide for me by placing both a buy and a sell order at a specific point in time of a specific candle on a specific time frame. And this is all highly researched, so I only do this at the completion of specific candles that I'm tracking. And when I see those entries doing well over time, recently, so recently meaning in the past few weeks at least, I start taking them mechanically. So you will see me do that for the first 15-minute bar completion in the Dow today, unless we get too big of a bar, like over 100 points usually. But for the London session, it might be a bit less. You'll see me taking actually nothing in the DAX for this session. DAX has been a bit complicated for me in the mornings, and I don't have anything right now that passes my quality check. So I will take the break of the first 15-minute bar in gold. I'm also interested in the second 15-minute bar in gold. And for the UK 100, besides the first 5-minute bar, as well, I'm going to be interested in the completion of the first 15-minute bar and the completion of the second 15-minute bar. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to take all of these entries, but generally I do try to take most of them. If they contradict each other, I might just let the first one to run and ignore the second one. And if price is supportive, I will use the second one as an add-on if it continues in the same direction. So with that being said, I'm just letting things play out here. We're 10 seconds away from completing the first 5-minute bar. In the UK 100 index, it's going to be clearly a positive bar. So I'm just going to increase the sizing here a bit. And we'll place a sell order right below it. So now price needs to break below the bar. Now, obviously, there's always a risk of price going right below and then retracing. But I want you to just look at this structure for the UK 100 for this overnight action. We've just ranged, and now we've completely raided this range. So if you were more of a speculative discretionary trader, you could have just shorted here and saw this as accumulation, this as manipulation, and now distribution to the downside. But I'm not really doing that. So my entries, like I said, are mostly mechanical. They are pre-planned. So I have a list in front of me on my notebook, like a physical list. And I have marked down all the entries for today. So I already know exactly where I'm entering today. And they are time-based entries, so I just need price to then fill one of my orders. The advantage of this is that I don't really care about direction. I'm comfortable taking both shorts and longs where appropriate. And at the same time, I'm not going to miss out on moves because I'm afraid or I see resistance and I don't want to take a trade because there's resistance and I don't want to go long at resistance. This way I don't really miss out on big moves. And I guess get most of them, when you get a directional move. I'm usually on board for that because of this type of strategy. Now, obviously, what this strategy really requires for it to work well is you need to do it in a market that generally goes in one direction. If you're in a choppy market, highly ranging market, obviously this strategy isn't going to work. But the reason why it works so well for me is because I have a sort of grading system for each entry, and I can see when they're working well, and when they're not, I obviously just don't take them, and I consider that to be a ranging market. So for example, DAX this morning, my research shows that last few mornings in the DAX haven't been that good. And as you can see here, look at yesterday. Couldn't really decide on one direction in the London session. We kind of ranged. So when you're trying to go for breakouts or breakdowns, this will chop you out. Okay, so DAX is now rating the low of Asia session. So actually here, because we've been in an uptrend, if we now retrace back into Asia range, the blue square is Asia range, the yellow square is London range, and the green square is New York range. So this is from yesterday. And this is the overnight action in the Asia session. Generally, when you see a raid of the lows or the raid of an extremity of a previous session and then price going back into the range, that is a strong trigger for a reversal, but I do like to see a candle close. So we would need a candle, this candle now that went below to retrace and close back into Asia session. And if it closed like around here, that would be a long trigger for me, with a stop right below the wick and targeting the highs. So that is more of a discretionary setup. You observe price action and you decide when to enter, but generally on the close of the candle. So like you see here, we are like 5 minutes away from closing this bar, so I wouldn't rush here to go long. Obviously I said I don't have any entries for the DAX, but this is a setup that I've researched a lot, and it's my other core setup that is non-mechanical, let's say. So I will take 90% mechanical entries, and the 10% is this. So when I see this, but obviously I need confirmation, and that's the close of the bar. So it needs to close into the range. And gold is retracing here a bit. We'll see what happens. I would prefer for this bar not to get too big, because obviously my stop will be at the other side of the bar for the first 15-minute bar entry. So, okay, I think I've talked for enough. Hopefully you understand what I'm trying to do. And I will bring you back in 5 minutes when we've completed the first 15-minute bars. Okay, bringing you back here, I've placed my orders in the Dow. And in gold, I've just placed a long order for now. However, if we break here to the downside, I might just close this manually and go short, but let's see what happens. And in the UK 100, we have completely reversed here, and I got filled short on the first 5-minute bar positive entry. So I've placed my stop right above. And actually, I'm gonna very quickly add to this position as well. Reason being, on the first 15-minute bar entry, I would have been filled short here, and I was planning on taking a bit of a larger sized entry just because this has been quite a good entry and the entry bar isn't as big. So we're basically risking $60 or like $63 in total. I'm just gonna put the stops in the exact same place. So now I'm risking the full amount that I wanted to risk. Let's just target, let's see, at the very least 15 points. Let's see what that looks like. So let's just play it a bit safer and go with, instead of 15 points, let's just go 13 points here, right at this wick. So they're essentially one-to-one trades. And with the DAX, we've actually closed the first 15-minute bar at the exact lows of the session, so this doesn't really qualify for me. I needed price to close like just a bit higher, or within the range of these candles, let's say. I think it's just too marginal to consider this a close back into the range when it's exactly at the lows. So now I'm going to look at the next 15-minute candle, and I want to see a close in the range if I am to take a long position. Now obviously if this just rallies hard now and closes like here, I'm not going to enter anymore. So now it's just a game of patience. I have my orders, I have my fills. I place my orders not exactly at the low and high of the trigger candle. I have some points in cushion that I always apply, and they differ from index to index. So for example, for the Dow and the Nasdaq, they are 5 points. So I add 5 points from the low and 5 points from the high, just to avoid some of the bad fills when price goes just below and reverses. And here I've just placed the long order in case we just carry on upwards. I just want the long fill. I don't want the short fill because I'm already long and the stop is lower. But again, if we do go below here and it looks strong, I might just exit this manually and go short and basically respect the short fill we would have here had I placed the sell order as well. So it's just a waiting game now. And for entries, for mechanical entries that are up next, I also have entries off the second 15-minute bar in the UK 100 and in gold. But again, it might be complicated in gold when we have multiple positions, but I'll manage them and we'll see if I can get an extra entry or if I play it safe. So I'll just pause you now and we'll see what happens, and I'll bring you back when we have a clearer picture or when we're closer to an entry or a stop or a TP. Actually, just to add something real quick. So I was just telling you basically, if you look at this ranging pattern in the overnight session in the UK 100, we manipulated above, rated the highs, and then fully back into the range. Now you might say, why didn't you go short here? Like I said, while I recognize the setup, this is happening a bit too fast for my taste, 1, and 2, I am focusing mostly on mechanical entries for this account and for this challenge, but at the same time I don't really want to rush into trades. So if this is indeed manipulation, price won't get back up here. It might retrace a bit here, but will then continue selling. So we have a very good chance of hitting this. I'm not really worried right now. We would have to see a strong denial of this bearish bar. So just have to be patient, and yeah, I'm completely comfortable being short here instead of here, because again, the setup is strong. I am filled mechanically basically on these entries, so there's a mechanical reason why I'm short twice here, and the structure is also supportive because we've just rated the highs and we're forming a pattern of reversal here. So now distribution can continue, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. We have all the reasoning to be short here, so I have no problem with being short at the perceived lows. And this is why I like this mechanical strategy. A lot of the times traders will pass on good trades because they perceive price to be at a support or a resistance, and they don't want to short a support or go long at a resistance, but then price does its thing and you miss out. So with these mechanical strategies, you don't really miss out on these moves. Of course, they can work or they can fail, and on some days they fail, but a lot of the times you will see that you are filled incorrectly and you are going in the right direction with price, letting price decide for you instead of you obsessing over is this support, is this resistance, is this going to hold? I want to be short here, but I wanted to be short here, and now I don't want to be short here because it's a worse price, but then price dumps and you miss out. So I just wanted to say that. I'll pause you now. So we have gone just below the bar here, the first 15-minute bar, and retraced. Now this wouldn't have been a short fill because from 8.36 I would add a bit above 0.5 cushion. So we would be around here with the short order at 87.65-ish. The fact that price went below prior bar low and immediately shot up is a very good sign for our long position. This shows that there is demand below, but obviously it doesn't need to hold now and needs to break through here. And I'm completely comfortable getting it filled long again. Even if, as you see here, you might perceive this as resistance, and it will be some resistance. I find that previous session high and low always acts as resistance and support, at least a bit. So it's generally a good place to scalp if you're into that thing. This is why I like to have my sessions marked on the charts. Obviously, you can do this very easily in any charting package you have. So, just waiting for the second 15-minute bars to complete here. And I'll decide then if I add more to these positions. I do think that for gold especially, I'm good like that. But then if we break below both bars to the downside, then I'm probably going to close this and just go short. Because I do have mechanical entries both off the first 15-minute bar and the second in gold today. So if we break below to the downside, I'll just close this and go short. And I might add something more to the UK 100 if we go below this second 15-minute bar. Obviously, we're gonna get close to Asia session low, and we'll have to see if we can break below and stay below and not retrace and close back into the range, which is a long signal, just like in the DAX. So if that happens, I then might reconsider these positions, just because this is such a strong setup, and we have kind of been in an uptrend in the UK 100 as well. Look at the hourly chart here. So if we go strongly below Asia session and then close back into the range on the 15-minute, then I might be tempted to close the shorts there. So this is just how I manage the trades, but generally I try to let them run. Most of the time I try to let them run. I need to see something very convincing to close early. And if I'm not convinced, I just don't do anything and just let things run. So we're gonna complete the second 15-minute bars in a few seconds here. This is quite interesting. DAX is very close to having the required close back into the range here that allows me to go long, but it's just it's just not enough. But I do think that we can take a long position here. The sizing is small. I don't want to risk too much. I'm gonna go like 2, 3 points below the low here. So just risking $25, that is very conservative and reasonable. And I think I'm just gonna target the highs here. But let's see, if we're strong here, could probably target more, but at the highs I am targeting $40. So risking 25 to make 40, that's almost a 2-to-1. Pretty nice. So I'll let this run as well. So this is a non-mechanical entry. This is a discretionary entry based off a setup that I study quite a lot. And we have gone a bit below previous 15-minute bar in the UK 100. We are trying to bounce back up, and it is off the lows of Asia session. So this is where it's going to be important to observe what price does. Now, if this 15-minute bar closes back into Asia session range, like if it closes somewhere around here even, I might be tempted to close at least one of the positions, maybe even both, because it would be the same setup as here. I'm probably not going to switch to long because I don't like to switch from short to long that quickly unless I am super sure. But yeah, let's see. However, if we just retrace now and go below this again, I might add another short position here. So let's see what happens. The initial reaction isn't what we want to see. It's similar to here, and it's similar to gold here, going below previous bar low and back up. But we need to be patient because we've just completed this bar and there's plenty of time, and this can go any which way. So I'll pause you and bring you back, but I just wanted to explain my thought process here. And actually bringing you back almost immediately. This DAX trade has reacted beautifully, and we've just gone above the opening bar, and this is strong now, so I do think that there's a good chance we just hit a fast TP here. Would be beautiful to see. Just need a few more points, like 10 points. It would be a shame not to get this now. I'm not gonna chicken out and exit earlier, even though we are getting into resistance here, obviously. But this has been a very strong reaction. So just gonna hold out and hope for the best, basically. And look, I mean, look at the daily outlook for the DAX. Obviously, I'm aware that it's Wednesday the 12th, and we have CPI data coming today, 1 hour before the US Open. So that's going to play a part, and we might slow down. But I'm just going to let things play out here. And it has to happen now. Just want to see it shoot up. I mean, I'm actually targeting 39. Let's just take our profits there, and just avoid those rare but occasions where it just reverses here at resistance right before hitting. Maybe I've rushed there a bit, but I think this is fine. A nice quick win under our belts. Just 0.35 on the account, but I didn't risk too much. This wasn't one of my mechanical entries, and I didn't want to put too much risk on it, so just risked like 25. That's fine. We would have hit, but I just left like $4.50 on the table, so I think that's fine. Now I'm just interested to see what happens in the UK 100 here. This is not the reaction we want to see. This is basically the same as here. We went just below Asia session. Much less than here, but we just raided the lows. And strongly reversing here, this is bad. Obviously. But I will see what happens right above this bar here, because this is basically the last stand here. Just going above here and retracing. If this doesn't happen, I'll just close both early. Nice reaction from gold as well. And very slow reaction for the Dow. Quite a small range. I'm considering now if I should let this run. I'm wondering if we go below here, is it likely that we continue lower? So I'm actually just going to do something that I don't usually do, but I will delete the short order here, because if you look at the Dow, it's been so bullish as well. Is it really likely that if we get filled short here, we're gonna sell off into CPI? So this is actually one of the rare occasions where I will delete an order. I will just keep the long order. But if we go below here and we stay below, then I'm just going to take the short manually. But this way I just protect myself a bit for when price just dumps a bit below Asia session here and then continues. So we're close to getting filled on the second long. Now I need to note that the break of this candle is in itself a long position because I had both candles for today, but I just decided, since I have this here already, that I wasn't going to rush into placing my order here just because I wanted to clear this bar first and not get into a situation where we just go a bit higher, don't break above this, and then just dump. So while this is an add-on at a worse price, I think it's a safer add-on than it would have been here, if that makes sense. So I will wait for the completion of this bar. 7 minutes left. It's not looking great, but there's still a chance. And the DAX has gone perfectly to a previous day high, and now it's thinking about it. But yeah, I'm not interested in the DAX for anything else until the US session, where I will be looking at the break of the second 15-minute bar. So yeah, I'm just monitoring these now. I might close these early because this is a strong reversal pattern now, but still gonna give it a chance. It can still retrace here. Obviously, there's a lot of supply above, and if this is indeed manipulation, distribution can continue to the downside. So I'll pause you now and we'll bring you back when we have something of note. So we are about to complete the third 15-minute bar here, and yeah, this isn't looking too great now in the UK 100. However, we have basically gone as high as Asia high and are retracing again. Obviously, a close back into the range is bad, but the fact that we are retracing off the highs is a sign that the supply here remains quite strong. However, once we close this bar now in a few seconds, I think I'm just gonna close one of the trades for a small loss, and we'll just let the other one run. So for this one, if we're wrong, we're wrong. I've minimized risk. I let things play out. I saw the reversal pattern, just like in the DAX, but I don't want to be too reactionary because price can easily trick you, and you can see it go up for a few minutes and then dump completely. Like I said, we were felt short mechanically on entries that are very highly researched and profitable over the long term. So I wasn't going to rush into closing everything and switching to a long, because you can do a lot of damage if it doesn't work. So this way I'm just being less reactionary and trusting the process and trusting my entries. Now I am managing risk because this obviously isn't the price action you want to see, and this is quite a strong repudiation, if you will, of the case for the short here. But I'm still gonna let one of the trades run its course, and we'll see what happens. Basically, I am down $18 right now, and I'm risking 31. So I'm not losing much more if I let it run, but I do have quite a lot to gain. So I think that's logical. And now I think I'm done with the entries for this morning. Let me just double check. I do have something else in the UK 100, but it's a 30-minute bar, and it happens at 12 o'clock my time, which is GMT plus 2. So we're still an hour and a half away. Don't know if I'm gonna still be recording at that time, but if I do place that, you will see it in the US session. And I do have something for after the CPI news comes, like half an hour after the news comes. But again, you will see that in the US session if I took it. And it's going to be in gold. So now I'm just going to manage these positions. I'm going to still keep an eye on the Dow here. And gold, obviously. We might be settling in a range pre-CPI. So that's why I didn't want to immediately double down on gold here. And as you can see, we haven't managed to close above. We just equaled the high of the opening bar and are now attempting to go lower again, but I'll be patient one more time, and I would expect a reaction below this bar if we were to continue going higher. But let's see. I'll pause you, and I'm just going to manage these positions. There won't be any other positions for a while. Mechanical for sure, and price action based decisions. I don't think I have anything that is that clear as this setup was right here. So I'll just be patient now and see what happens. And we have gotten stopped out in the UK 100. So I think that was worth just letting it run. Losing an extra $14 wasn't going to be tragic. I let it run because in some situations it would just respect the supply and go back down. But obviously we've been in such a strong uptrend, like I said, that when price goes below a previous session and back into the range strongly, that is a strong long trigger. But I let my mechanical entries play out, just closed one to manage risk. I'm very happy with how I managed this. I think I lost quite the minimum. And now I'll just be patient with gold, see what happens. We did go below prior bar low and retraced, but the demand doesn't look as strong as I would have liked. But let's see. Still no fill in the Dow, which is very weird and rare. And this is exactly why I deleted the short order, because I am quite aware that price really likes to go below previous range before shooting in a direction, so I don't want to be filled short here, I don't think, unless I see price closing below. So I'll just manage that as well, and I'll bring you back a bit later or when we have a resolution in gold. But I was just thinking, if I managed this completely to the best of my ability, and the only thing I could have done differently was that I also had the second 15-minute bar as a trigger for today, and this obviously would have filled me long. However, I was short twice off mechanical entries from the start of the session, and yes, this bar went below, but it wouldn't have been enough to fill me short, because from 75.64 I would have placed my sell order at 74. So my sell order would have been here. It wouldn't have gotten filled. So once price went back up here and above this at like 83.5, I could have gone long here actually. So maybe that was an oversight. I decided not to switch to long, not to be reactionary here, which is totally fine. But here, when we clearly broke above the second 15-minute bar, this is an individual trigger as well. And this worked fine for like 9 points so far. So perhaps I could have done that as well, but obviously I'm using hindsight now. I think my decision is fine to let things run. Like I always say, when you're undecided, it's better to do nothing than to rush into doing something, and then generally that doesn't end well. So yeah, it's good to just think about your execution and analyze after the fact and see if you could have done something differently. And as I say this, look at what the Dow is doing. So it's just rated the lows here. I would now be filled short. And I might still go short here, but I'm just gonna use some discretion here because we've seen DAX go below range and pop back up. We've seen the UK 100 do this. So now I'm just wondering, is the Dow gonna follow the exact same pattern? So now, if we close this bar back into the range, I might just go long here, manually on another discretionary entry off this nice setup here. Because look, even on the 15-minute, we've been rallying so hard, not to mention higher time frames. So this is why I decided to delete the short order. Now, if we close, there's 3 minutes left until we close this bar. If we do close below, and that might be a confirmation that I should be short. But let's see what happens. I just wanted to avoid the scenario where we just raid the lows here and go strongly back into the range like we did in the DAX and the UK 100. So I'll pause you here and bring you back, and we'll see what happens. So we have closed here and we immediately went even lower. So perhaps I've missed out on a short position here, but I do think that my logic is fine, and seeing what happened in the DAX and the UK 100 was enough reason to be concerned with a short fill here. Now I do try to follow all my entries mechanically, but on rare occasions I will use some discretion, especially with big news coming later today. Now if I see this slowly marching lower into CPI, I'm gonna be a bit pissed with myself probably, but yeah, I think the decision is fine. We could still reverse here, of course, but this is looking like I should be short, actually. So yeah, that's fine. Perhaps I missed an entry, but we'll see what happens. I explained my reasoning, and I think you can see the logic behind it. So I'll just manage this now, and we'll see if I get another opportunity here to do something, but I might just sit out. Bringing you back here, so this is a very, very good representation of what can happen when I use discretion to pass on my mechanical entries. So you miss out on a good entry. Again, I'm perfectly fine with my decision here. I think you can see that there's good logic behind it, but obviously this is also a good example of why you can safely take these entries mechanically and not worry about support, resistance, reversals, whatever. Now I just used discretion and my experience here and decided to skip it, but you can see how even entries that look scary can work out, and often do work out when it's on an entry that is well researched. So with that being said, I'm gonna put it behind me. Nothing we can do now, and obviously there's not going to be another entry in the Dow here, either long or short. Just gonna manage gold, which isn't looking particularly well, but what can you do? We've tried to go back up a few times. We might be stuck in a range. I'll leave this order for now, because we could easily just stay in a range and then quickly move before CPI, but let's see. I'll be patient as usual. If you're not sure, don't do anything. I'll pause you and I might bring you back for the 12 o'clock 30-minute bar in the UK 100. So finally, time for an update here. It's not looking great in gold. We've just missed out on getting stopped out, but I do think there's a high chance it happens now. Just unfortunate, nothing we can do here. I've deleted the long order, of course. Just executed our plan, it didn't work out. I am looking at the 30-minute bar in the UK 100 here, this particular 30-minute bar. It's on my list, it's a valid entry, there's no reason to skip it. The Dow did go quite a bit lower, so we would have hit DP if I had followed my mechanical entry. I would have entered around 547 here, and I would have targeted like 50 points. So it would have been around here, our exit. So yeah, just an example of what happens sometimes when you decide to turn down an entry, but at the same time, you could have seen price just move below and reverse, and then I would have looked like a genius to turn it down. Now I look like a donkey, but that's just what happens. I think both decisions are valid. I can't really be too upset with turning it down. So I'm just going to focus on taking this entry, and then I'll leave it for the lunch break. So a buy above and a sell below this order, this candle, and I'll bring you back for that. So the bar completed, and I have placed my orders. The long order is right at previous day high, so you might not see it unless you look to the left. A normal sized entry, so I will risk around $50 or 0.5% on the account. And we did get stopped out in gold. I'm not going to take any short triggers, of course. We just revisited previous day low, and we're gonna get closer and closer to CPI, so I don't really want to be in a gold trade before that. So this was a case of patience not being rewarded, but I think I managed it well. Technically I had another long trigger here, but this time it was the right decision not to take it. So as you can see, two examples of turning down a trade. One would have worked, one would have lost. So again, it's pretty rare that I turn down a trade, but on days like these with CPI and with price action being this difficult, I think it's justified. So I'll just let this run now. I'm gonna go in my lunch break, and we'll see what happens when I return. I will manage this. We'll keep an eye on this even during my lunch break. So when it gets filled, I'll delete the other order and place the stop in its place. So I'll let this run, and we'll see what happens. Final update here from me, post lunch break. The UK 100 is just ranging now, sadly. I will let it run though, even into CPI. I think there's a good chance we just go lower if we get clipped. That's fine too, it's part of the strategy, so just applying the strategy methodically and mechanically, so I have no issues with letting it run. So yeah, a bit of a difficult day. I think I managed it fairly well. Perhaps I should have taken the short here, but again, I think there was enough reason to be a bit cautious. Yeah, not that much more to be said. I'll focus on the US session, plenty of entries still to go for the day, and let's hopefully have a better US session. So if you enjoyed this type of video, please like and subscribe, and I will be back for the US session. Thank you.